Okay, how's it going, everybody? So we're going to read some more on the Agrarian question by Stalin. This is March 1906. Let's go ahead and get into this. We already read the first part. We're going to read the second part here. We have seen that the present movement in the countryside is a movement for the emancipation of the peasants. We have also seen that to emancipate the peasants, it is necessary to abolish the remnants of serfdom. And to abolish these remnants, it is necessary to confiscate all landlord and government land so as to clear the road for the new way of life, for the free development of capitalism. Let us assume that all this has been done. How should this land be subsequently distributed? And to whose ownership should it be transferred? Some say that the confiscated land should be granted to each village as common property, that the private ownership of land must be abolished forthwith, that each village should become complete owner of the land, and then itself divide the land among the peasants in equal allotments. And in this way, socialism will be introduced in the countryside forthwith. Instead of wage labor, there will be equal land tenure. This is called socialization of the land, the socialist revolutionaries tell us. Is this solution acceptable for us? Let us examine it. Let us first deal with the point that in introducing socialism, the socialist revolutionaries want to begin with the countryside. Is this possible? Everybody knows that the town is more developed than the countryside, that the town is the leader of the countryside, and consequently, every activity for socialism must begin in the town. The socialist revolutionaries, however, want to convert the countryside into the leader of the town and to compel the countryside to begin introducing socialism, which of course is impossible owing to the backwardness of the countryside. Hence, it is obvious that the socialism of the socialist revolutionaries will be stillborn socialism. Let us now pass to the point that they want to introduce socialism in the countryside forthwith. Introducing socialism means abolishing commodity production, abolishing the money system, raising capitalism to its foundations, and socializing all the means of production. The socialist revolutionaries, however, want to leave all this intact and to socialize only the land, which is absolutely impossible. If commodity production remains intact, the land too will become a commodity and will come on to the market any day. And the, quote, socialism of the high socialist revolutionaries will be blown sky high. Clearly, they want to introduce socialism within the framework of capitalism, which of course is inconceivable. This is exactly why it is said that the socialism of the socialist revolutionaries is bourgeois socialism. As regards equal land tenure, must be said that it is merely an empty phrase. Equal land tenure needs equality of property, but among the peasantry, inequality of property prevails, and this is the present democratic revolution cannot be abolished. Is it conceivable that the owner of 8 pair of oxen will make the same use of the land as one who owns it no oxen at all? Yet the socialist revolutionaries believe, quote, equal land tenure, end quote, will lead to the abolition of wage labor, and that it will stop the development of capital, which of course is absurd. Evidently, the socialist revolutionaries want to combat the further development of capitalism and turn back the wheel of history. In this, they seek salvation. Science, however, tells us that the victory of socialism depends on the development of capitalism, and whoever combats this development is combating socialism. That is why the socialist revolutionaries are also called socialist reactionaries. We shall not dwell on the fact that the peasants want to fight to abolish feudal property, not in opposition to bourgeois property, but on the basis of bourgeois property. They want to divide the confiscated land among themselves as private property, and will not be satisfied with socialization of the land, end quote. Hence, you see that socialization of the land is unacceptable. Others say that the confiscated land should be transferred to a democratic state, and that the peasants should be only tenants of this state. This is called nationalization of the land. Is the nationalization of the land acceptable? If we bear in mind that the future state, however democratic it may be, will nevertheless be a bourgeois state, that the transfer of the land to such a state will enhance the political strength of the bourgeoisie, which would be greatly to the disadvantage of the rural and urban proletariat. If we also bear in mind that the peasants themselves will be opposed to nationalization of the land and will not be satisfied with being merely tenants, it will be self-evident that the nationalization of the land is not in the interest of the present-day movement. Consequently, nationalization of the land is also unacceptable. Still, others say that the land should be transferred to local government bodies and that the peasants should be the tenants of these bodies. This is called municipalization of the land. Is the municipalization of the land acceptable? What does municipalization of the land mean? It means, firstly, that the peasants will not receive as their property the land which they confiscate from the landlords and the government in the course of the struggle. How will the peasants look upon this? The peasants want to receive land as their property. The peasants want to divide the confiscated land among themselves. They dream of this land as their property. And when they are told that this land is to be transferred not to them, but to the local government bodies, they will certainly disagree with the advocates of municipalization. We must not forget this. Moreover, what will happen if in their revolutionary ardor, the peasants take possession of all the confiscated land and leave nothing for the local government bodies? We cannot stand in their way and say, halt, this land must be transferred to the local government bodies and not to you. It will be quite enough for you to be tenants. Secondly, if we accept the municipalization slogan, we must at once raise it among the people and at once explain to the peasants that the land for which they are fighting, which they want to seize, is not to become their property, but the property of local government bodies. Of course, the party enjoys great influence among the peasants. They may agree with it, but needless to say, the peasants will no longer fight with their previous ardor. And this will be extremely harmful for the present revolution. If, however, the party does not enjoy great influence among the peasants, the latter will desert the party and turn their backs upon it, and this will cause a conflict between the peasants and the party and greatly weaken the forces of the revolution. We shall be told, often the wishes of the peasantry run counter to the course of development. We cannot ignore the course of history and always follow the wishes of the peasants. The party should have its own principles. That is gospel truth. The party must be guided by its principles. But the party which rejected all the above-mentioned strivings of the peasantry would betray its principles. If the peasants' desire to seize the landlord's land and divide them among themselves does not run counter to the course of history, if, on the contrary, these strivings spring entirely from the present democratic revolution, if a real struggle against feudal property can be waged only on the basis of bourgeois property, and if the strivings of the peasants express precisely this trend, then it is self-evident that the party cannot reject these demands of the peasants. For refusal to back these demands would mean refusing to develop the revolution. On the other hand, if the party has principles, if it does not wish to become a brake upon the revolution, it must help the peasants to achieve what they are striving for. And what they are striving for totally contradicts the municipalization of the land. As you see, municipalization of the land is also unacceptable. Okay, so that's the second part, and he never gets to the third part, well, to what he thinks would be better than these, but that's going to have to be in the third part, because this is the second part. We'll have part 3 coming up pretty soon, The Agrarian Question, 1906 by Joseph Stalin. Well, thank y'all for tuning in, Follow me online, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, Tumblr, Medium, all of these. Follow me there. Y'all have a great day.